If you're ready to streamline your inventory management, look no further than this video. I'm going to be showing you how easy it is in 2026 to stand up your own inventory management software using Softr.io. If learning more about building your own inventory management is of interest to you, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and this is Gap Consulting. It's my mission to help you unlock the full potential of no-code tools, and Softr.io is one of my favorite no-code tools, especially for front-end interfaces, those applications that you're launching out, whether it's internally or externally, and you need people to log in and have their own unique custom experience in your app. Softr is my go-to choice. Now, in this video, I'm going to be going through some examples on how you can set this up using a template and how we can enhance it using the vibe coding block. Don't be intimidated by any of this. We're going to go step by step. It's way easier than you might imagine. But before we get into it, I want to invite you to follow along with me. Softr has given us a free code that you can use when you sign up for a paid account on Softr. It's over $100 in value, and it's going to give you 1 month free of the Pro plan. So take advantage of what you see on your screen right now. Go ahead and follow the same exact steps, put in that code for your account, and take advantage of that promo. But without further ado, let's hop on into my screen, and we're going to start right inside of Softr. Once you're signed into Softr, regardless of the plan that you're on, you're going to see something very similar to this, and we can create a new app from a template. Softr has put together 90 plus pre-built templates, as you see. You can scroll through the different types here, or you can search for something, and I'm going to look up for inventory, and I'm going to pull in inventory management. And before we actually install this template, we can start with the preview. So we can kind of check it out. What does this do? What's it look like? Flip through the different pages of the template. We can even open up a preview. But for our use case, I'm just going to say use template. And within a few moments, this template is going to be installed right into our Softr account. And just like that, it's all coming to life for us. So we're already, 80% of the way there. Now, I have some mixed feelings about templates. Sometimes I feel like they really speed me up. Other times I feel like they slow me down. And the reason for that is a template is never going to be 100% of what you're looking for. The whole point behind Softr and what it enables us to do is build our own unique apps to our workflow for our clients or our team members. So when you're building something in Softr by hand, you have full control over what you're building. When you use a template, very often there's going to be some stuff there that you don't need, or things that you wouldn't have built because it's not how your workflow exists. For example, with this inventory management tracker, what we're looking at is sales orders, purchase orders, and suppliers here. And, well, ultimately inventory as well. But maybe what you really need is not something like this, but more of a check-in, check-out system. Or you need to track, for tech purposes, who has what laptop within our organization. This particular inventory management template doesn't exactly solve that need. So you'll need to customize to the end result that you're looking for. So templates can do a lot of the lifting for us. They can get us pretty far, but don't expect them to be 100% of the end solution. There will be the need to make some tweaks, some changes, and some updates. So let's take a quick browse through our template now that we've installed it here. I'm just going to click on preview in the upper right corner, and we can choose who we are impersonating here in the app. Now, this is really important because, as you can see, these different users, and this is all sample data, these different users have different levels of permissions. They're assigned to different groups. This person at the top, Omar, is labeled as a warehouse manager. That's the group that Omar belongs to. So very likely that in our template, we have different requirements or different visualizations for the different members and different roles within our team. So Omar, as a warehouse manager, will need different permissions, different visibility, as compared to his coworker here, who is a sales manager. So in this case, the sales manager will have, a different experience from Omar's because they fulfill different roles within the organization. And this is a key thing to understand about building any app, frankly, is the different roles that you have within your org and who should see what and how we should apply different rules to these different users. So as Omar, I'm impersonating Omar, and I'm going to say, yes, I understand. If I make changes to my app, I'm actually changing the underlying data. So Omar logs in and sees this, the different inventory, the different orders, different things in reporting, the ability to look at revenue by customer, inventory levels, revenue by sales rep. Again, remember, this is unique to Omar's experience as a warehouse manager. Omar can go to inventory, sales, purchase orders, and suppliers, and look at the different information here. You can see how many purchase orders each of these different suppliers has put in. You can add a supplier through the form. All of this is entirely customizable, but the template by default had all of this information. Now you might wonder where all this information lives, and frankly, that was all created for us at the data layer inside of Softr. So when we installed this template, the data, as an example, or starting data, was also created for us and put into the data layer. Now we can integrate our app with other third-party tools like Airtable or SmartSuite or Google Sheets, but if you don't already have data living in those other tools, why not just create the data directly in Softr? It'll make your app faster to load and just give you fewer tools in your tech stack to try to manage. So all of these different tables here represent the different components that were created for us. We have the products, the sales orders, the items on the sales orders, so the line items. Same with purchase orders, we get the purchase order and then the different line items on the purchase order, and then ultimately the suppliers. So all of this information lives in Softr on the back end at the data layer, but again, what people see and how they see it and what they're allowed to edit or delete or create, that is entirely driven by the permissions that we grant the different users when they're accessing the app and the different roles that we've assigned them to. That takes us to the users. So the users, this is again sample data, and we can clear this out when we go to production, but these are all the different users in our app. We can even track when they last logged in and what groups they are assigned to. These groups are done automatically. Our user groups, you can see we have sales managers and warehouse managers. We could build additional groups depending on our plan with Softr and give further details in the different permissions for our users. The last component here is workflows, and this is where we can put together automations, processes that will happen within our app. When users take certain actions, we can take automation to the next level to do a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. So building automations within our workflows to empower our app and our users to get more done more efficiently is another key layer of Softr. Now let's head back to our interface. This is where we design the actual app itself. And let's imagine that we are ready to spin up our interface, our inventory inside of here. So I go to my pages and I select the inventory page, and you can see that we're displaying a list here using this block. So what is a block in Softr? Well, every block is different. Some of them present static data. Some of them are pulling data from our database layer. In this case, this particular block for inventory is a grid block. We can add new blocks by coming down here or going in between other blocks and saying add block. And we can choose from the different types of blocks. We can include charts, Kanbans, calendars, inbox, all kinds of different ways to visualize data. When we're ready to bring in data from our database, that's where the dynamic elements come in. If, on the other hand, you're building a block like this one at the top, this doesn't change. It's a static image. That is a static block. We can also include containers, things like side-by-side columns, where we can include different blocks inside of them for even more reporting on the same page. So for us, we can make changes to this existing block, which is the standard grid block or horizontal card block by Softr. We can decide what type of block it is right here, how we're displaying the data. We can tell it where it's pulling the data from. In our case, it's pulling from the database layer called inventory management. This was all created by our template. And we tell it where we're pulling the data from, one table at a time. In this case, we're looking at products. We can apply all kinds of different things here, conditional filters to only include certain items. We can choose what content, what information is showing up on each of these blocks. So you can see here we've aligned the image, the inventory level, the product name, description, units purchased, etc. All of this information lives right here in our block, and we can customize it within reason. I say within reason because Softr is a bit drag and drop, right? The very nature of this means that we can come in, choose the data, align it to different things, but there are some guardrails on that. We don't have full capabilities of displaying data exactly as we want. Or do we? Softr has now launched out a vibe coding block. The vibe coding block allows us to chat with an AI and generate custom code to display the data we want to display in unique ways that we could not do before. This is really helpful anytime you need to display information that does not fit one of your more custom Softr blocks. Imagine I wanted to show not just high or low here to tell my users the level of inventory, but maybe I want something a little bit more modern. I want a health bar. Something that I can really let my users get immediate insight into how much inventory of this thing do we actually have on the shelves right now. What is that being driven by? Well, I mean, frankly, it's coming from the data layer of our products, right? And if we scroll over, we see that we've got an inventory level formula that's outputting here. And if we look at this, it's simply looking at the number of units available. And it's saying, hey, if it's less than 20, then this is a low inventory. If it's more than 200, it's high. And if it's not either of those, then it's normal. Okay, so easy enough. And that gets us part of the way there. But what if we really wanted to, ramp this up, make it really powerful? That's where we might bring in a vibe coding block and unlock new ways of displaying data. In order to do this, let's go to add a block. And we will, instead of choosing an existing layout, we will go to AI here. And they have the new vibe coding block inside of Softr. Now, when I select my vibe coding block, the first thing I should do is connect my data source. What I want it to do is look up my products, just as my inventory block above is doing. So I'm going to first hover over here and connect it to that data source and select the products table. Now, once I've done this, I can also apply conditional filters to only bring in certain information. So for example, if we discontinued some inventory, I might not want to include it here. But for our use case, I won't go down that rabbit hole and we'll keep it as is. Now I'll head back to the chat and I'm going to paste in a prompt that I got from ChatGPT. And I'm just going to talk through it. Now, ultimately, it's saying create a new visual inventory display component for inventory items. The component should display key information about the item. And so hopefully this is going to get us pretty close. Now, as you probably know, if you've done any vibe coding, it's very rare that your first pass using a vibe coding prompt is going to get you exactly what you want, but it's usually a good step in the right direction. We might need to come back, pause here, and iterate a few times. So let me, oh, no, just like that, we actually see that our first block was created. I was about to cut the video, but we see that it, in fact, displays perfectly. So, looking this over, my prompt is not what I meant. What I wanted was really a list of all of the inventory that included the inventory health bar for each item. And that was my fault in the way that I designed the prompt, just copying and pasting it without giving it a second look. So this health bar, though, I think demonstrates to you what is possible in the vibe coding app world. So now we've dropped this in. It's not exactly what I want. I want to basically replace this inventory list, but to include the inventory health. But you can see just at a glance that this is allowing us to do things that we could not do with just using Softr in the traditional sense, dragging and dropping, pointing and clicking through the different elements. This gives us code, the ability to actually write that code using some prompts with AI. So after more iterations, I'm sure we can get this to a point where it's able to replace our existing inventory, at which point we can hide this component from our app or just delete it entirely. And once we're ready, we can publish our new updates and send this out to our team. So in this way, we have full control over how we share data with our different team members and exactly what we want them to see, create, edit, delete, all of it. A full-blown inventory management app for your company or process that took us literally moments to set up thanks to a template and some vibe coding prompts. I hope you got a ton of value from this video. If you have questions we did not answer, swing by our website because we are offering free strategy calls to help you on your next project. Go ahead and sign up, schedule some time with our team, and we'll help you clarify your goals and also put together a plan for helping you get there quicker. Of course, if you liked this content, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It really goes a long way to help us produce more content like this, but most importantly, keep on building.